I'll be speaking about the advantages and disadvantages of supine and prone PCNL, rather difference between the both. So I call supine PCNL as old wine in new glass, but definitely with better taste and more kick. So before starting my main topic, I'll start with a question to everybody. Still, we are doing 80% of PCNL as done in prone position, only 20% in supine. Why so? Why this prone PCNL only a very difficult yoga posture? Why not this relatively easier posture, comfortable way with nice followers? That is supine PCNL. And only answer we have is our conventional teaching, the way we have been taught. So coming to my main topic, I'll be covering advantages and disadvantages in several headings: patient-related factors, anesthesia-related factors, surgeon-related, procedure-related, and what evidences have to say. So we'll start with the patient factors first. If you are doing a prone PCNL in supine position, after some time, say about after 20, 25, 30 minutes, patient starts moving his or her shoulder and head for here and there, and it becomes very problematic for surgeon. And if you are doing prone PCNL in GA, then it's a nightmare for anesthetist. These things have been nicely covered by Dr. Chawla, sir. Similarly, difficulty in positioning, lot of manpowers, time consuming, injury to patient and our OT staffs, anesthesia related problems like tube displacements and kinking. We have respiratory problems, neurological damage, compression injury, compartment syndrome. These all things have been covered by Dr. Chawla, sir. And there are lot many supine positions as told by Dr. Sanjay, sir. But again, I will emphasize no consensus on ideal supine position. One supine position does not fit all, and the right one must be chosen for the right patient with the right stone burden. Then anesthesia related problems. In spinal anesthesia, prone PCNL not fit anesthesia wise. And again in GA, tube related problems are there and various hemodynamic factors in prone position. This is a nice article in British Journal of Anesthesia related to anesthesia related problems, where we can see the compression of inferior vena cava leads to decreased venous return, increased risk of thromboembolism, increase of intrathoracic pressure, damage to CNS or peripheral nervous system, thromboembolism, and lot many things. Now comes to surgeon related. First is the comfort of the surgeon. When we are doing prone PCNL, we keep on turning and twisting shoulder and hip joint from here and there. If you're going from upper calyx, we are twisting our shoulder like this. Going from lower calyx, we are twisting our hip like this. Unlike in supine PCNL, where we are doing sitting comfortably on your throne, like this, with one hand relaxed, put on the patient ipsilateral leg of the thigh of the patient, both shoulders, arms relaxed. Then comes second, radiation exposure. In prone PCNL, almost all of us in some time of during that surgery, we get a direct radiation exposure to our hands for even for fraction of seconds. We think, okay, this is for fraction of seconds. But if we calculate this fraction of seconds, and if you are doing a lot of PCNL cases, then it becomes in hours. And this is a very terrifying thing. Third most important is fixed position of fluoro in prone PCNL. Once we complete our puncture, passed our Implas sheath, now we ask the person to take back the fluoro machine because it starts interfering with our nephroscope. And again, in in between, we have to again ask the guy to bring the fluoro machine to check for the complete clearance of the stone or position of DJ, or while putting the nephrostomy tube. So many a times the CM has to bring in, put it out, take it out. So it's time consuming as well as extra radiation, because every time you cannot exactly pinpoint and show the picture there. 3-4 exposures are useless there. So this is about radiation hazard. In supine PCNL, as we can see, our hands are far away from the radiation tube. So in nowhere we get direct exposure to hand. And this is very important for supine PCNL. Now comes procedure related. The first and foremost important, again, operating area is too small. I mean, this is true or false, will come later on. And as Harpreet sir was asking again and again, bullseye. He is very much interested in bullseye, ease of puncture, whether bullseye is possible or not. Next comes approaching various calyces, whether we have to finish it by going through inferior only, or we can puncture middle or superior as well. Then the most dreaded complication, bowel injury. But the most important thing is endoscopic combined intra-indural surgery, which is going to be the future of stone surgery. This is going to be the future. And last but not the least is the PCS pressure and stone clearance and any specific complication and over time. We'll go one by one. The instruments in our armamentarium, this is the same. I use this 17 French nephroscope with 20 implants. This is my routine procedure. But since last few years, I have started using more and more of mini PCNL. This is ultra mini and mini XS. You have to have this flexi ureteroscope as well as nephroscope to help you in ECIRS. And this, if you need a longer length is there, your track is very long in obese patient, then you may have to use this flexi cystonephro, or to avoid multiple puncture, you have to use this thing. This is operating area. Anybody who is doing PCNL, you need to go through this area only, this much. I think you have more than 10 times of your puncture area here. So why this operating area we call small? We have to go through this only. So why we want these whole area? So I think this operating area is sufficient enough. Then now comes the ease of puncture. Bullseye definitely is very, very difficult, but every one of us, we have seen in the last Parcon, the Chinese faculty, he did supine PCNL in bullseye, puncture in bullseye, but it was very cumbersome. Whole C-arm, C has to go below the table and he has to stand by the side of fluoro machine, and it's a difficult thing, but it's not impossible. Then second comes vertebral superimposition. The moment you increase the inclination more than 15, 22, the moment you will increase the inclination, the vertebra will start coming, superimposing the stone. But this is also not a big thing. You have to just rotate the C-arm, again 10 to 20 degree towards you, and it will come in alignment. So vertebra will go away from the stone. Then after puncturing, you have to dilate. Here comes the hindrance of mobility of the kidney. Kidney is very mobile. The moment you will start pushing your dilator, kidney will start going medially. So there are 2-3 things. Either you do balloon dilatation, which is not economical, or you do one-step dilatation. Or best practical thing is you put your one hand on the anterior abdominal wall, keep pressing it. But while dilating, you want your both hand to be used. So you ask one assistant to press the abdomen from medial side and keep the kidney fixed position. So that way you can surpass this mobility of kidney issue. See, in the complete supine position, this posterior calyx, this has got 50-degree angle with the fluoroscopy bed. But the moment you raise it with 20 degree, this 20 degree, this becomes hardly 30 degree. Now is almost parallel, your puncture line. Now you can puncture as like Dr. Pal sir recommends, advocates gradual descending technique. This is gradual ascending technique. So now you can easily puncture it. The sir was saying about your how to know the depth of your needle. Once you have punctured and you have missed the desired calyx, just rotate the C-arm cranially 20 to 30 degree. And if your needle comes inferior to the calyx, desired calyx, that means you are anterior to it. You have gone anterior. So come back and go some posteriorly. Similarly, if your needle is going above the desired calyx, that means you are more posterior. So you have to come back and go more anterior. So this way you can assess the depth of the puncture. Now comes the approach to various calyces, upper calyceal puncture or multiple puncture. First thing here I want to ask, do we always need upper calyx puncture for staghorn? Even if we need, see this position, we have to just do some rotations in the posture, I mean some organization. Now you can have this puncture, superior calyceal puncture easily from here, like this. So middle, low and lower calyceal puncture is straightforward, but where you are apprehending, you have to go for upper calyceal. You will have to just adjust the position a bit. So the one position is not the rule of thumb for all supine PCNLs. There is a very nice paper by Dr. Guido, upper calyx approachability through a lower calyx access for prone versus supine PCNL. He has shown that in prone position, only 20% of the time you can reach to the upper calyx from lower calyceal puncture. But in supine, almost 80% of the time you can reach from lower calyx. So this is the angle. And in this era of ECIRS, why do we need to go for upper calyx? If there is some stones in the upper calyx which we cannot tackle from this calyx, we'll do it from retrograde side. Either we will blast the stone there, or if the infundibulum is wide, stone is not big, we will park it in the lower calyceal region or in the pelvis. So ECIRS is very good. There are 4 issues related with the ECIRS. First, in large stone burden, 2 teams can work simultaneously. One from the retrograde side and one team doing supine PCNL. Second scenario, if there are few stones which are in inaccessible calyces, retrogradely we can park those stones in the pelvis or in that track. If the infundibulum is wide or stone is small, if stone is big, we can break the stone there and bring the fragments in the track side. Third is when they are associated upper aortic stone, we can manage in the same sitting retrograde. And fourth scenario, I think all of us has witnessed in Parcon. Faculty has done a marvelous job, did a very nice prone PCNL, but unfortunately a small fragment went inside the ureter, parked in the middle or lower ureter, and in the end he is not able to pass the DJ stent. Then Pal sir changes the position, brings in the lithotomy, take the uteroscope, take the stone out, put the DJ. Those things we don't have to do in supine case. So now this is the one most dreaded, colon injury. This paper already sir has shown the retroanal colon is present in 1.9% in supine and up to 10% in prone position. And what Guido says, in modifying supine position, colon drops out about 2.5 centimeter away from kidney. But in this era, we have come to a conclusion that there is absolutely no difference in incidence of colon injury in prone or supine position. In supine position, there is neither any increased incidence or decrease. It's absolutely same in both. So now PCS, pressure and stone clearance. No doubt, the orientation of needle is such that the spontaneous washing out of fragments is there, and low intra-anal pressure throughout the whole procedure. So post-op sepsis, fever, they are very less. But again, one disadvantage. Throughout the surgery, your working area is collapsed. So to surpass this, you have to ask your assistant to keep on irrigating from retrograde side through ureteric catheter. So he has to keep on irrigating fluid to keep the pelvis some distended or calyx to some distension. Reduce overtime by no change in position, extra manpower don't require, anesthetic friendly position, fixed fluoro position, independent drainage and all. This we have already seen. So now what evidences has to say? Say this paper, this is meta-analysis, almost 1500 supine, 4800 prone. Conclusion was similar stone-free rate, similar complication rate, less time with supine. Then comes here Valdivia's paper. The same supine, lower transfusion rate, lower post-operative fever, and the position should be tailored to individual patient characteristics. Now this paper is 9 studies on supine versus 25 on prone. Conclusion, prone less overtime, but this should be supine. Less overtime, good for obese and staghorn, better stone-free rate. Again, another paper, the same, no difference in stone-free rate, transfusion rate, post-op fever. But with the supine, shorter overtime. Mean difference is almost 25 minutes. If we take this 25 minutes, this is very small for a single case. But for a center where the large volume of cases are doing, for them 25 minutes is very much because they can accommodate 3-4 more cases per day. Then this cross result, again, almost similar to prone and supine. Patient safety is more on supine. Then here comes a paper from Nadiad, the supine percutaneous nephrotomy effective approach to high risk and morbidly obese patient. They concluded that supine PCNL is an effective and safe procedure in high risk and obese patients and allows simultaneous management of ureteral stones. Then this another paper of from Tertiary Teaching Hospital. They have concluded that this prospective study comparing the modified supine position with the standard prone position demonstrates reduced operative time and length of hospital stay and increased stone-free rates with fewer complications. Given the benefits of modified supine position for the surgical and anesthetic team, particularly with obese patient groups, and should be considered by all surgeons performing PCNL. This is from Tel Aviv. They concluded that we believe that the supine PCNL approach has already passed the point of needing to prove safety and feasibility. It is an established procedure and one that is easily implemented in centers with experience in PCNL. It facilitates the solution for a variety of anesthesiology and endourological issues and may be routinely used by all kinds of calculi. And this is what about our brilliant Dr. Sandeep Gupta, his article. And now this is our experience since 2014. The total number of cases, this is last year's slide. Almost 30 cases has been added till date now. Age range 8 to 68 years, male, female 90-38, stone bulk 1 centimeter to 4.5, weight of patient 14 kg to 120 kg, renal insufficiency 34 units, COPD 25, comorbidity in 60 cases. Number of tracks 1 in 110, 2 tracks in 18 patients, stone free almost 93-94%, hemoglobin drop up to 3 grams, fever post-op 20 cases, no colonic injury, 1 case I needed angioembolization, post-op leak for more than 24 hours in 10 cases, tubeless in 80 patients. And type of stones were 18 staghorn, pelvic stone 40, 32 calyceal, uretral plus renal 28, 10 upper uretral. Puncture selected, upper calyx 3, middle 35, and lower, as usual, mostly from the lower side, 90 cases. Now about the summarizing the advantage of supine PCNL. Patient position reduce potential risk for musculoskeletal and eye complications, ease of anesthesia, saves overtime, good for special cases like myasthenia gravis, morbid obesity, colonic injury, almost same as with the prone. Dependent drainage, so spontaneous stone fragment drainage. Lower system, so reduced potential for post-op fever sepsis. Versatility, so simultaneous anti-anterograde access. Relatively lateral puncture, so access to both anterior and posterior calyces are good. Ease of surgeon, radiation exposure, and ergonomic wise. Type of puncture, most puncture subcostal. Those supracostal and superior calyceal punctures are easily possible with modification of the position. Stone-free rate equivalent. Now about the disadvantages, learning curve, but not a big one. You need only 8 to 10 cases, as with any new procedure. Increased mobility, as I said, so you have to go for balloon dilatation or single step dilatation. No apprehension of visceral injury. Long access tract. Here, it causes decreased mobility of nephroscope, and at times you need longer instruments. You may need flexicystonephro. Bullseye, always not possible. Superimposition with the spine can be overcome by rotating the C-arm. And lesser downward movement of kidney during inspiration. What we say during our prone PCNL, hold the inspiration so the upper calyx come from supracostal to infracostal, subcostal. This is not possible in this supine. So now the advantage, this is the prone, wider area of puncture, wider instrumentation movement, possibility of multiple accesses, collecting system dilated with wider operative field, reduced risk of visceral lesion. But disadvantages, anesthesiological management, patient's positioning, complicated retrograde access, high radiation exposure. And this we all know about supine. So now to summarize, prone or supine, this should be a case-based decision. There should not be any fixed rule. There should be a flexibility to achieve complication-free, complete stone clearance in shortest possible time. Do it prone or supine, anything. CIRS, this is the future. We have to keep this in mind. And most important, residents must get exposure in both supine and prone. So prone and supine position prove safe and effective. Do what you are comfortable with. If you master both, individualize to each patient. This is a nice slide of judo. This prone technique in high jump dominated for 50 years, this prone. But nowadays, after the advent of Fosbury technique, 40 years ago, with a tremendous increase in result, prone technique seems to be ridiculous. And I think all the urologists who are listening, they are young, because you can judge your age by the amount of pain you feel when you come into contact with a new idea. So don't let yourself old. And this is the final nail in the coffin of prone PCNL for me. Thank you, sir.